So I work at AICHO and the American Indian Community Housing Organization in Duluth. We're a nonprofit with focuses on food sovereignty, housing. We have a domestic violence shelter. We have cultural arts program, and we work with families in need. And I know I'm forgetting something else, social enterprise and things like that. And so today we are going to be having a session on plants and food and the cultural, spiritual connections to them and practices with Awanuk, Veronica Bratvold, Red Lake Nation tribal member. And I do have to thank our funders for funding this session. And they are the Minnesota Department of Human Services, Behavioral Health Division, as well as the First Nations Development Institute. So thank you, miigwech, to them for their support. And I have some Apijigo that I'm gonna offer to Veronica. And I'm gonna mail this to her and thank her for agreeing to do this session with us today. And so before I introduce Veronica and turn it over to her, I do want to go through the rules of engagement. So if you could keep yourself muted and don't share your screen, your video screen, that would be great. And if you have any issues with your audio or trying to connect some way, please put that in the chat. And Becky Nelson is our tech support today. Thank you, Becky. And she will help you, guide you through that. And also ask your questions. If you have questions during the session, please put that in the chat. Put that in the chat section. And please keep yourself on mute for folks that are just joining in. Ask your questions in the mute, and I will be asking those to Veronica during the session, during the question time. I am recording the session, so I will be able to upload that to the AICHO YouTube page, and I will be sharing that on the Facebook event page that I created for this event, as well as our AICHO Facebook pages. So and I will email it out to everybody that registered so that you can have that. So yeah, I don't know if I'm forgetting anything, but I'm gonna introduce Veronica. So Veronica, Awanuk Veronica Kingbird-Bratvold is a tribal member of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota. She'll be sharing about traditional ecological knowledge, protocols, or origins of plants. She grew up learning about medicines and ceremonial practices in her household. She has continued learning about medicines and has a passion for sharing cultural knowledge with others in order to conserve Anishinaabeg lifeways, maintain identities and connectedness. And this is the second time that AICHO has hired Veronica to share her knowledge with us. The first time was at the Indigenous Foods Expo, the event of the century, last September in Duluth. And she shared a session on Indigenous teas. And so there's gonna be, she's gonna share some of that with us today as well. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Veronica. miigwech, Veronica.
Alexa, play Cutie Pie. Here's Cutie Pie by One Way on Amazon. Let's get this party started, guys. You hear that? Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Alexa, stop. Buju, Onukwenigo. I'm gonna start off by smudging the room, and I'm gonna also invite those of you who smudge or are familiarized with smudging. You can also do this right now. I have my bundle of sage right here, my white sage that I'll be using. And I'll also kind of show you right now, for those of you who don't know and want to learn how to smudge. This is white sage, and all I really do is I harvest the white sage. I don't pull up from the root. I cut at the bottom. And this particular bundle was given to me as a gift. Usually I leave the seeds, the female plant, I leave the ones with the seeds alone. But this one has the seeds, as you can maybe tell from the camera. But so what you're gonna wanna do is you're actually just gonna wanna take this and then pull the leaves off the stem after you've dried the plant. And then I just roll it up in a ball, really simple and easy. So it's nice and tight, so when you're burning, it just kind of burns all together. And I do this to kind of cleanse the space, and like there's already good vibes, but I'm just gonna like elevate the mood a little bit more. So if you want to join me in this, you're more than welcome to. And also, while I'm doing this, getting this ready, Ivy did say she passed some Asemaa to me virtually. You know, that's a new term that we're using because we're all learning this new way of living. But to go along with that, I'm going to ask those of you who do pray with our Asemaa to this time when I'm praying. You're more than welcome to join me in that also, and grabbing your Asemaa and praying with me at this time. And even if you don't pray with Asemaa, if you have another way of praying, you're more than welcome to pray in that way also. Because today there's going to be a lot of things I'm going to be talking about, and it's going to be really fun. But this is just this show of respect and appreciation for what we got going on today. All right, so it's gonna be a couple minutes here. Bonjour, Kakinaoya. Bonjour, Maniduk. Nukainago, Gaijang, Nukainago. Magazine Dodo Demon. Did you want to do it up na Sema? Wabang, want to do it up na Sema? Jana, up na Sema. And Gavina, up na Sema. Gavina, up na Sema. Mama, Kia, up na Sema. Gijimakwa, up na Sema. Gijibanese, up na Sema. Mashkiki, my root, up na Sema. Mitgun, up na Sema. Away, up na Sema. Many duduk, Jawin, Magom, Anishinaabeg, Mono, Jawin, Mission Mono, we do call Anishinaabeg, Mono, Wiji Mino, Yag, and then we make an do Gae, Anishinaabeg, Mono, Jawin, Mission Mono, miigwech, Mishkiki, when you do Jawin, Mission Mono, on the Queen miigwech, when you do. My Chaga is taking that out for me. He's gonna go put that out as an offering for today. Just a quick before I get started, Becky, is there any way I can get to see myself on the big screen?
What do you see right now?
I see your photo.
Oh, I'm not 100% sure. Let me look into that.
So where are you guys from? You want to put in the chat box where you guys from? Yeah, Minneapolis. Would Duluth, Bemidji, Chicago. What? Philly, Bemidji, yes. Would everybody? That's exciting. You're all over the place. Bonjour. Like Ivy said earlier, please feel feel free to ask questions throughout this. Typically when I give presentations, I usually do it in a setting where I'm face to face with everybody. And you know, I do kind of have like an agenda that's going here, and you guys are here for a reason to hear what I have to say about plants and to learn how to make teas and learn about wild foods in my region here, and Red Lake. That reminds me, how did I forget? I forgot to introduce myself in English. So my name is Veronica Kingbird-Bratvold. I'm from the Red Lake Nation. I live here in Red Lake. So don't mind anything if you hear dogs barking in the background. Those are some res dogs, AKA my dogs. Like I was saying before, you know, you guys are here for a reason. You want to hear what I have to say about these plants, and you want to learn. And that's so exciting to me because I'm very passionate about plants. But I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth with that. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna be sharing with you guys along the way is teachings that I have received throughout my life from my elders, from my parents, from community members, from friends, from just my mentors, just everybody. So like when I sit in a face-to-face setting, we have this reciprocal relationship. And the things that I'm gonna be sharing today are gonna help you remember things that maybe you have forgotten. But I also want you to feel free to ask questions along the way so you can also help me remember, because this is a reciprocal relationship. And your questions, they often trigger me to think deeper about a lot of my teachings. These teachings are mainly come from an Anishinaabeg worldview, but also they are my teachings that I have, like my own truths, right? Because we all interpret things differently, each and every one of us. So the things I've learned and what I'm going to be sharing with you is things that I've thought critically about throughout my whole life. And so so there might be some mentors that are here today watching, some friends, some elders, just other community members that what I'm saying doesn't speak their truth and what they know, but that's okay. That's okay. So with that being said, he's coming in from offering that Asemaa. What I'm going to do is I am going to kind of share a little bit what I'm going to be making with you. And I was thinking for days now, like, what am I going to make? You know, we have this topic about food. We have a topic about plants, and there's just so many things I can share with you. But ultimately today I thought, you know what, I'm not going to make it complicated. I'm not going to learn things that I don't really know, that I haven't tried. And one thing that I've really been just holding like space for and like really working with a lot is Aniwishabu. That means tea in Ojibwe. And I am comfortable with tea because at a young age, my parents, instead of going to the doctor, it'd always be like, well, what are your ailments? Okay, I'll make you a batch of tea. And we would drink that tea, and that was our go-to every time before we'd even go to the hospital. So before, or we wouldn't even go after that, just depending on what it was. So so as an adult and learning more about plants, I decided to just see what I can do with all these plant beings. So
Veronica?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to let you know, if you click on the view, you're currently probably in speaker view. If you switch to gallery view, you should be able to see yourself and a whole bunch of the other folks' names and pictures.
Okay, I can only, so I'm not sure why I see just your pin to the top. But when it, I can try to unpin it. So I see the gallery view, and I don't see, like, I see a little bitty thing of myself. Oh, okay, I pinned my video.
Great.
Good, I got it. Okay, I can see myself now. I know what's going on. Okay, so okay, so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna start with a basic tea, and then throughout the way I'll talk more about the plants that I'm using. So right now, we're gonna start with the basic teachings that I have received on how to make tea. My husband's eating chips over there. I don't know if you guys can hear that. he's sitting down, he's eating chips, he's like watching a movie right now. It's super cute. Okay, so my advice and what I've learned, and I have my own interpretation, but I was taught to use a galvanized kettle or stainless steel kettle. And my reason for that is I think it's because there's less toxins that leach into the water, right? So before we got started, I had filled this pot, and it's, I would say, about a gallon. And then I did like about an inch and a half and 2 inches below, and I just kind of eyeball it a little bit. So and before I prayed for this session, right, I already prayed for the water. And I am bringing that up because that is so important, is praying for the water. I think a lot of times nowadays, we kind of forget to pray for our water because we have such easy access for now with the water. So before I filled it up, and while I was filling it up, I was praying for that water. And then when I was praying in Ojibwemo and in this session, I talked for the medicines and, ask them to, have pity on me and have pity on you, and just kind of like, just like these good vibrations with it. So I'm going to turn this on because this usually takes a good, I would say, 20 minutes. So I put it on high heat. And does anybody have any questions with that so far? That's basically what you do so far.
Yeah, no questions so far.
Okay, nice. So, when I'm working with these medicines, not only was I taught in that way, but to do that with the water, but I'm gonna go into a little bit about that piece. Does anybody know does anybody know what a lot of Anishinaabeg do before they go fishing? Like before they go on their boat into the water, what do we do? For those of you who don't know, we offer our Asemaa. We take our tobacco, our offering, and we put it in the water, and we talk to those money doog in the water. And this is where I'm gonna get into the worldview, Anishinaabeg worldview, is we take our Asemaa and we're thinking about the water beings. What are our intentions for that day? What are our intentions on the lake, and what are we hoping to receive from the lake, and also to have pity on us that we're okay while we're out there, right? So I bring that up because when we're doing that, I think sometimes we forget to do that water offering more frequently. I have a friend who says that she when she's actually pouring some water for a glass to drink, that she talks to that water, and that makes so much sense to me, because that's just one part of us giving thanks. So when I think about that, and when I think about me harvesting these medicines that I have right here, I had been taught to offer my Asemaa when I go on the lake, but I also had been taught to offer my Asemaa before I go hunting, because to like ask those beings to present themselves to me. And as an adult, I thought about it, and I was like, well, shouldn't we be doing that when we go into the woods harvesting, right? Just so we have like this respect factor for the money dude, the spirit beings out there and the plant beings out there. Should we be doing that? And I was like, yeah, we should be doing that, you know? And so that's part of me like thinking critically about it, like in our teachings and making sense of everything. You see, when our teachings is when the world was created, we, the earth was created first. The plant society, the plant spirits were created first. And then the Oasia, the four-legged, the animals were created. And then lastly, we were created. Even the rocks were created before us. And when we refer to our plant beings and our rocks, we refer to them as our grandmother and grandfathers, right? So the whole part about this acknowledging of the water, acknowledging our first step into the woods, acknowledging each of those plants, it's a part of that respect for them being our grandfathers and our grandmothers, and to also that respect factor because they give their lives for us. They give our lives for us to keep our lives. And I think because there's different thought processes about inanimate, animate, what is that word? What was that course we took before? Oh, yeah. Ethics, environment. Well, we took environmental ethics courses, but at the time before I took that class, I didn't realize the different viewpoints, how different they were for me. Like, plants are not living beings. I just could not even fathom that people would think that, but people do think that. I don't know why I brought that up. So, but yeah, when we're the last to be brought here, that's saying something. And we all have this reciprocal respect that we should be showing with one another. Another teaching that I was given is before we enter this world, we were shown everything that we were going to experience, all of our happiness, all of our pain, all of the trauma, all of the horrific things, and all the beauty and all the love, and we make an agreement with our creator that we're gonna take this life and we're gonna live it and we're gonna rock it, and we're gonna do that because we want to come here and we want to share love, but we also want to learn how to love more fully. And when we do that, when we enter this world, when we come here, we're still connected. We're still connected to that spiritual connection. There's like a portal, like, they talk about portals. Did you need something? Oh. There's a portal, and so and does anybody know or have heard that when they make baby moccasins, they put like a little hole in the bottom of their moccasins? Have you ever heard that? Does anybody know why?
It has to do with like the spirits having access to them, maybe?
My understanding, and that's probably true too, is my understanding is yeah, they have that spiritual connection yet too. I mean, we always hear of children, saying things or seeing things or predicting things, and because they're more in tune with that spiritual side, right? And so when they have those, to keep them grounded to the earth, that's exactly what I was going to say is they keep that little hole in the bottom of their moccasins to keep them grounded to the earth because they're so they're fragile and they're vulnerable at that time. So when we think about that and we think about ourselves and we think about, how we're moving along in this life as we grow, we start to forget and we start to kind of slowly lose that connection. I remember even as a young child that my friends, they would stop playing imaginary games with us. And I was like, why? Like, they don't even play that anymore. And I had this huge imagination. And at some point it just left. And that's my cue as something happened around that time where it went away. But what I'm getting at is we all have this cycle that we have to go through to actually learn about that connection again. Not only if you're Anishinaabe or another culture, you all go through this disconnection at some point. And at some point, some of us begin to realize that and remember that. And a part of that learning and coming back to that connection is me finding out about plants. When I go into the woods, does anybody else like to go and just hang out in the woods because it just feels so good? Like, I love it. Like, I just jump in the truck and, oh, fun fact. So last night I said, I need to go to this spot because I want to grab this particular plant because I want to show this plant to people. And as we were out there, you know, one thing that I forgot right away is that initial, and I'm going to say that because we are only human. But I forgot that initial Asemaa before I started walking in the woods. And then just for some reason, I thought I want to go home. I just, you know, I'm done out here. I have what I need. I'm going to go home. And so on our way home, we thought, we're just going to go down this one more road. We're just going to go check it out. And you know, it's been raining out, right? So, so there's this piece of grass that we went in, and it was a road that had been grown over with grass. Well, we didn't know under that road that was pure water. So when we backed out, we got stuck really, really bad. So I was like, oh my gosh, when the sun was going down and we were in the middle of nowhere, and we're in this place like way like west of here, like on our tribal land, and there's absolutely no reception. I was freaking out. I was like, am I gonna have to camp out here? Like, which would have been fine if you know, I wasn't trying to get everything situated here, and my dogs aren't home alone. But anyways, I mean, that happens to all of us. And anyways, I got sidetracked. But going into the woods and having that good feeling and stuff, and that is because the spirits that are in the woods, the plant beings and the spirits that we can't see in the woods, and those energies are filling us up. If you can picture yourself as a battery, we're essentially a battery, right? Because we need that sun the sun rays from the sun. We need this plant life to live. We need the animals to live, and they all have photosynthesized all that good energy within them. So we need that, and we need to power ourselves. But then when you think about it again too, somebody mentioned grounding earlier, and that's a new contemporary term, is grounding. And like, when you look at that, that makes a lot of sense, because what were our shoes made with before we have what we have now? They were made with hides and, you know, things that allowed us to have this connection. Because buckskin, because when we're wearing our other shoes with rubber bottoms, what stops electricity? Rubber. So when we're walking on our mother, we're not getting that energy that we need from her. And I'm bringing it back to where that baby had that connection with the soles of their feet, because our soles of our feet and our hands are our energy sources. And that might be a reason why a lot of people, when they pray, they raise their hands and they pray and they put their hands to the sun. And lately, since this pandemic has started, because of my own mental health, I have went outside pretty much every morning, put my feet on the ground, and put my hands up at the sun to get that full energy, to feel good about it. Any questions? Um, okay, so I'm talking about the energies with the plants, and maybe I'll show you some plants right now too, because when I talk about a lot of these teachings, all these teachings, I am so passionate about it that I kind of get into one layer to another layer into another layer, and I can go on and on about it. So last night when I got stuck, I went out and I harvested um, some rose hips, and I use rose hips kind of frequently with tea up here in my neck of the woods. And you might hear other people talk about this too in their different tribes. There's kind of a similar story. They call them Gijibajidi. That means itchy butt. And when I would go and do tea demos and I would have this tea, all the elders would say that, oh, that's itchy butt. And I'm like, I never had that problem. Like, what's going on? I don't understand. But yeah, there's different things within this plant that that can cause that. So I've noticed while I've been foraging for them that there's a couple different kinds that I see. So there's one that's like super round. I don't know if you can see that, super round. And then there's some that have a different shape. So I'm thinking that they're a different variety. And let me be clear too. The things I'm going to share with you, like these plants that I'm sharing with you, they're plants that I've learned growing up that I have a unique relationship with. I am not a scientist or anything like that. I typically don't talk about the medicinal qualities on all these, and I'm still learning a lot about how to utilize the plants. So I'm not going to really talk about, vitamin C, vitamin A or D, or how to treat yourselves. I'm going to talk more about like the spiritual side of using them and the protocols with that. But then I'm just definitely going to share with you what these plants look like. So, and then another one that I got was these plums. I love to use these plums. I have the cutest story with these plums. So a few years ago when I started learning more and more about plants, I had this internship that my only job really was to go out into the woods and photograph whatever being of plant I could ever think about, and whatever caught my eye. And what I would do is take that photograph, bring it back to the office. I would find their scientific name and their common names, and then I would find their Anishinaabeg name. So when I started that journey, I remembered, like, when I used to go sliding down the road, down the block, we used to eat these things there. I don't know what they are. So I decided I'm going to go and check out what was I eating over there. So I went and checked it out, and it was plums. And I put it in my mouth, and like so many memories just popped in my brain, and it just made me smile, and I felt so good. And then I thought, okay, my brother's home. And this was at the time, like, we were like living at my mom's. I was in college and he was younger, but I went to our house, and my brother was standing there with his kids, and I said, "This in your mouth. Put it in your mouth." He was like, "What is that? Veronica, get that away from me." I was like, "Put it in your mouth. Just trust me." And he was like, "Oh, okay." He put it in his mouth, and he goes, "Oh my God, Veronica, what is that? What is that?" I said, "That's plum." And he's like, he just got so happy, and he was just so excited. And for him too, it had that connection, and it made him think about him as a child. So his kids were standing right there, and they were young, couldn't talk at the time. He'd give them the plums, and my niece, she looks just like me. She's so cute. She loved plums, and she just ate like almost that whole bucket. She probably didn't have too much good of a time after that on the pot. But does anybody else have like any like memories that like that growing up and like walking down somewhere with your friends or in the woods and like eating whatever is out there that somehow you knew that it was edible? Yep, honeysuckles, yeah. And you know what, fun fact that I didn't know is the honeysuckles, you know, the kind where you twist the top and it's like really tasty, the little bitty tiny top. Those aren't actually called honeysuckles. They're called red columbines. And then we still call them honeysuckles too, but there's also another plant called honeysuckles and it looks way different. So now when my husband and I are talking, like one of us will say honeysuckles and we're like, well, which one? Like, you know, cloves and dandelions. Yes. Wintergreen. Oh my gosh. I learned about wintergreen a few years ago from my wet aunt. And she took us out to look at wintergreen, and I have not found wintergreen since until this past year. The pandemic started and I started riding down the back roads on our res and I was just checking them out and I was like, I seen them from the road. We were driving super fast and I was like, wait a minute, I think I found wintergreen. Pulled back and I was like, yes, we have wintergreen. And I gave it away since then, but you know, it was really great. Thank you for sharing all those stories. I mean, it's so wonderful, and it goes back to that relationship, that connection, that connection and that respect and just feeling super good about yourself. Okay, I can hear the water boiling. And okay, so I had planned on showing you guys how to make a couple different teas. And I do have one already prepared. This one, I've been waiting for the water to actually rapidly boil. That's what I want, is for the water to rapidly boil. So it looks to me like it has like a couple more minutes to go, so I can share with you how to make this other tea real quick. Okay. Just gonna move some of the medicines out. I only got through rose hips with you guys, huh? I can quickly show you a couple more. Right now, you guys, it might be a good time for you guys to go and see what you can find with gooseberries. I do have a whole bunch of gooseberries here. I wish I can show you better. Really, when I was looking at plants before I thought gooseberries were probably like, I thought they were that big, and I thought I seen one, and then I went back and I couldn't see them, and it wasn't until I was rummaging one day. I was leaving somebody's house and they were having a garage sale, and they had this bush right there, and I seen these like little berries, and I was like, wait, hold on. And I looked down and I got closer and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a gooseberry! Like, oh my God, like I was super excited, and because I thought that, like, you know, looking at field guides, they're really like, you can't really tell the size very well. So last year was the first year I found a whole bunch of wild gooseberries, not the kind that they plant in different yards and stuff. And I've been finding them along our lake shore. The leaves are very, very noticeable. They're like, once you start identifying them, like, you can't miss them. If you have a chance to get started with your own learning, I would advise you to go with somebody that you knows how to identify these plants for certain, or purchase yourself a field guide. Right now I'm using this field guide. It's called Minnesota Berries. I think it's called Minnesota Berries. It's like a small little booklet, but what they have in there is the time of year that these I can't see that. Oh, paper. Hold up a paper with them. I think that's right. Is that what it said, Ivy?
Yes, maybe hold up the white paper with plant
Yeah.
on it. Or yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
That works.
Okay. Okay, back to field guides. You're gonna want to get a field guide that tells you when they're in season, when they're ready to be harvested, how to identify them, and also what their leaves look like and their stems look like, because there's a lot of plants that look really similar. I kind of have like a better eye for them now that I've been foraging for quite some time, that I can distinguish like what does a tendril look like, or what is a cluster, or what does the stem look like. But the leaves still are like hard for me to identify. So those are gooseberries. So if you guys want to look and see if you can get the end season of the gooseberries, another one right now that's good to go is cranberries. Cranberries, I know that they're like huge medicine. I don't use them for medicine. I use them to just make cranberry sauce right now, or cranberry syrup. And then another one that you'll see in the fall, so it's not too late, is grapes. And grapes have like a look-alike, but the look-alike looks to me really different. The way the wild grapes look, they look like the kind that are in a vineyard. So like they droop differently, and the ones that are identical, they kind of like, I don't know, stand out a little bit, might be a different color. And then they have leaves like this. And some people actually take these leaves and like steam them and eat them. And, you know, they're like, I haven't done that yet, but I will someday. Okay, my water's boiling. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the medicine in there right now. And what I want to do is I want to only let it boil rapidly for 3 to 4 minutes tops. And then I'm going to remove from the heat and let it steep for however long. I'll drink right away if I want to, or I'll let it sit overnight, and then I'll put it into another container and then just let it be in there, and then drink it as needed. So I think I'm just going to do some cedar right now. And my husband prayed for the cedar. He actually harvested it this morning. I usually do about 3 to 4 of these with that size of water. And then I just kind of add different things in there, but I'm just going to do cedar today. The cedar is a very, very powerful medicine for Anishinaabeg. Not only do we use cedar to drink as a tea, but we can also grind up cedar after it's really dry. You can also grind up cedar just like that. And then you can sprinkle it over. I usually sprinkle it over my smudge that I have going. Yeah, but you want to make sure it's like super dry before you cover it, so it doesn't mold and it doesn't waste. And then also what you can do with the cedar water is you can also bathe with the cedar water too. Like say maybe there's a couple days and like you have a trip that you have to go on, and you thought you can drink it all up before you went, but you can't, but you do have time to take a shower. Like you can go into the bathtub and you can just drench it all over you. You can, or in the shower, drench it over you. In a bathtub, you can like just have it in the bath water. Very, very cleansing. Okay, so I'm gonna put the cedar in there. 3 minutes. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you what I do a lot, and I want you guys to get creative with the teas that you're making. Okay. So last night I made. Did anybody go blueberry picking this year? Yes, yeah. Did you know, I didn't know this until this past year, but did you know that when you're out there harvesting, like if you're in like some, I want to say like some pines or something like that, if it's not like that wet of a place, you know what, I think they grow in the wet places too. But anyways, what I'm getting at is there's, like I was harvesting and there was this really light blueberry. It was like kind of like really bright blue. But then there's this other one that was like dark. It was kind of dark, but it looked just like a blueberry. And then you eat it and it tasted just like a blueberry. Well, actually, that's a huckleberry. So there's huckleberry and blueberries. And how I know that is because I always keep my field guide on hand. And so now I know that when I'm harvesting, and they're kind of hard to tell the difference depending on what stage the lighter blueberry is. So yeah, cool fun fact. But anyways, what I did too this year, instead of just harvesting the blueberry, I harvested the blueberry leaves because I wanted to make some tea with that. And this is my first time actually making a pot of tea with that. And why I chose to do that is because I heard somebody speaking about Juneberries and making Juneberry tea for their community. It was an Indigenous community. This woman was doing a study on it that the elders that were drinking that certain amount of time, that they didn't have diabetes because the medicinal properties in the gooseberry, did I say gooseberries? Juneberries. AKA Saskatoon berry, AKA service berry, that has medicinal properties. So then I thought, well, they're kind of similar in a way to blueberries. I want to learn more about that. So what I learned is like the blueberries, they have a lot of healing qualities in there too. And with anything that you're trying new, you kind of just want to take a little bit at a time and see how your body's reacting to things. So what I did is cool this overnight. I'm going to add some ice to it later. But right now, I'm going to show you what I do to make like a really good summer drink. So I have a grapefruit here. And you can use, like, I've used like blood oranges, I've used lemons, I've used limes. I've even used pineapple or watermelon. And basically all I do is just chop it up like I would any other iced tea and add it right in there. Has anybody else experimented with their teas like this? Oh yeah. Ivy, was there any questions up until this point? I couldn't see.
I don't think so, not yet.
Okay. So yeah, I really like to use the citrus with this, and I'm gonna you guys should smell this. It smells so good. I'm gonna experiment with these flavors. One of the top flavors that that people love when I make is a sweetgrass tea. So all I do is take about this much of sweetgrass. It smells good too. And I was actually going to make this today, and then I decided with cedar. But you boil about the same amount of water, and you can use this much of sweetgrass, pop it right in there, the same kind of technique. And then so far, the favorite flavor that I make is sweetgrass with oranges, blood oranges. What else do we have in there? Oh yeah, got a treat for you guys. Mint. And I put mint with everything. Like I have this huge herb garden, and it's like just mint pretty much. Mint and cilantro. What were the notifications?
I do have a question. Someone's curious if you use goldenrod leaves for tea.
I don't yet. I don't. I actually harvested one today because I want to start learning about these plants. But yeah, I've heard a lot about goldenrod lately, but I haven't utilized them yet. So I harvested them this morning right in my backyard. I harvested a lot of the stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to the wrong screen. But I've harvested a lot of plants this morning in my yard. So today I harvested this goldenrod. And you guys, I'm so excited. Okay, I gotta play a song for you real quick. Alexa, play my presentation playlist.
Your playlist presentation.
Listen
on
to this
Amazon
song.
Music.
This is the song I hear in my head whenever I identify a new plant or like have seen somebody that I've been looking for a long time. So the other day when I found these babies, that's the song that played in my head. You guys know this song? Those of you from Minnesota better know this song. I'm telling you. Alexa, stop. That's Prince, by the way. I got really excited because I was walking around my garden and there was this plant that I kept looking at and it looked like sunflower leaves to me, but it was really low to the ground and I kept thinking, yep, Prince. And I kept looking and looking and I decided I'm not gonna mow over this plant. I want to know who this is. I'm just gonna let him be. If it's just whoever, it's fine. This is my pollinator spot. So anyway, I was there yesterday and I looked, and you guys, I gotta get close to the camera. I'm super excited about it. Okay. These are ground cherries. Oh, I don't know if you guys can see. Kind of. But anyways, yeah, I was super excited. They're kind of like, does anybody know? Yes. Well, you know what? I don't know if they're wild, but I'm excited nonetheless. What you do is you open up the film around there, and you can just go right ahead and eat it just like that. Like, oh my gosh, so good. I received some seedlings last year from Shakopee Madwakaden Garden, and they gave me ground cherries. And so what I'm thinking what happened is they were kind of growing near that spot. And I think just what happened is the seeds went into the ground, and when we tilled in that spot earlier in the year, that they just went all over, because now they're just all over in that space, and I was super excited. They kind of remind me of, just so happen to have some tomatillos here. So I have some tomatillos. They're kind of like that. They have the little film on there, and you peel it open and stuff like that. They must be in the same family. But yeah, I got sidetracked. I was super excited. What are they saying?
Used to be my job as a little girl to peel the papers off, and grandma would preserve.
Oh, cute.
Yep. And ground cherry seeds like to hang out and come back in the spring.
Nice. I wonder how that'd be interesting to learn more about how to preserve them. I just thought was just grab them and ate them right while I'm in the garden. Okay. So what I did was I just added a citrus, I added my herbs, and then, shameless plug, some Red Lake Nation. I'm gonna go with choke cherry syrup. I'm gonna do a little bit of this. I chose choke cherries because choke cherries are just kind of at the end of season. You might be able to find some still. There's I believe there's different kind of choke cherries, like a black one, there's like redder ones. And then, so this one, you can actually just put them like in this thing or whatever you want. You can smush them up. You can take the seeds out. You can just like hammer away. So what I'll do with this is like I'll hammer away, and then after a bit I'll add them to the mixture. But you want to make sure that you crack open the seed. And so I'll do that later, but I'm going to add in this syrup and just for a sweetener. If you are diabetic or watching your sugars, you can definitely use something like, you can use a little bit of maple syrup, but that's still going to have your sugars rise a little bit. Or this thing that I found is really awesome. You can get it in different kind of ways. This is white sugar. It's called monk fruit sugar. And it comes with like brown, it comes with like a squirting stuff. It tastes a little different, almost like Splenda, but it's not that bad. I've been using it for baking. Are there any questions right now?
I don't think so.
Okay, I see a lot of things popping up every now and then. So I just go in and then I just keep trying it like that. Just trying the flavor, sweeten it to taste. So that's what I have for tea. And you can do this with all your other teas and stuff like that. You can find a base that you like. You can add citrus. And you can do a lot of different things like that. This morning when I walked around my yard, I found plantains. If you want, you're more than welcome to experiment with plantains. Again, when you're tasting new plants, just take a little bit at a time to see how it works with your body. What I did is super simple. I just I rinse them. I put them in this bowl, and then I'm gonna add some like avocado oil, and then I'm just gonna put them in my instant cooker. Like it has a bake setting. You could do this in the oven too. Not, oh my gosh, not this plantain, but my husband is joking around with me. But no, this plantain, it grows right in your yard or just all over sidewalks. Try to find like a place where it's clean. And so what I did was I put it at 200 and I baked it for about 5 minutes. And then it comes out into these little chips. You know, people make kale chips and stuff like that. And these are just chips. Comes out really good. They actually taste really good. And then it has like a little tang afterwards. And then I added some garlic and sea salt to it. You can add whatever flavoring or just salt, whatever have you.
We do have a tea question.
Yeah.
And it's concerning the cedar tea. So what kind of things do you add to the cedar to make it yummy?
Oh, I typically, my really go-to for cedar is straight maple syrup. I just love it straight up like that, just because that is what I had grown drinking up, is just straight maple syrup, and that's how my dad likes it. So that's my go-to. But I guess with cedar, I've tried some berries, like some frozen or wild berries that I've either smashed up or made like a compote with and then just dumped it right in there. But yeah, I really just recommend just maple syrup with the cedar. And so that kind of reminds me too, is like I kind of talked to you guys a little bit about the spiritual part about it, but I haven't talked too much about like the protocols with harvesting for what I was taught. And one question that I get asked a lot is, are there any times where you can and cannot harvest? Well, for my own reason, I don't know why, but I don't really harvest at night, and I don't harvest. I've heard not to harvest after it rains. And also for women, I don't harvest when I'm on my cycle and my moon time, because there's a lot of different reasons why, and there's a lot of women teachings as to why, but that's one of my teachings is I don't harvest at that time. I don't cook at that time. Yeah, it doesn't really need too much sweetener at all, I don't think. The cedar, it's really good. It's really good on its own. Same with the mushkiko bug, the Labrador tea, aka swamp tea. That's really, really good. Just straight up. And then I have some Labrador tea here. And what's fascinating about Labrador tea is it photosynthesizes all year round, and you can really harvest it like anytime you want. And how to distinguish it, because there is a plant out there that looks really similar to mushkiko bug. The only difference is the underside is not fuzzy, whereas the Labrador tea is fuzzy. And I have like this kind of informational thing that I'll send Ivy, and then she can send it to people. It has our Anishinaabe, it has their Anishinaabe name on there. Some people ask me about like what are they good for. I just put a little bit of that information on there and kind of like images with that. But do your own research when you're harvesting and stuff. So when I harvest, we talked about when we offer Asemaa to actually before we go into the woods, right? Well, I also do that when I see this plant that I'm going to harvest. And my mom says that you offer your Asemaa to that plant being, but don't harvest from that same plant being that you're getting the offering from. And so I haven't heard that other than her, but that's another teaching that, you know, people can utilize or not. I kind of, for the most part, try to do that now that she taught me that. But when we're going to these plants, we're going to them and we're, you know, asking them to sacrifice their life, just the way we do when we're harvesting like deer, right? When we're asking them to sacrifice their life to nourish us and our families. So that's what we're doing with those plants. We're having that reciprocal relationship. And you know how I said that we're like a battery, right? Well, essentially when you're working with these medicines, you also you have to charge up these medicines. So today what I'm making with the cedar, I prayed for this cedar, and there are medicinal qualities in the cedar and that tea and that drink. And same with the blueberry tea that I'm making for, I would say, what we call recreational. But there's also medicines that you can utilize that, and the same medicines, like the same plants that we're using today, but in a way they need to be charged. They need to be talked to specifically when you're using them for medicinal purposes. They need a little bit of guidance. So we're just kind of doing that energy transfer again. So when I make teas for a medicinal purpose and even recreational to show that respect, but if I'm doing it for a specific reason, I'd say more in my prayer. I say more like, what am I hoping to receive from that being to help me take care of myself, like, or to help me to give me the medicine that's tailored to me. So I kind of guide that plant in a spiritual way of talking, the same way that they would say a healer, a medicine man or woman would be doctoring you. Is you that's I'm gonna get deep here, so if you guys have questions, stop me. So when you go to a healer, a doctor, like in any capacity, like a holistic doctor, I would say, my understanding is what they're doing for you is that they are standing up for you. They are going to battle for you, and they're essentially saying to the spirits who they're talking to for you that I'm here to represent for this person, and help me tell them what they need, help me deliver that message of what they need to heal. And I was taught that if you're making medicines, like if I'm sick, then I don't make medicines for myself. Somebody has to make those medicines for me, the same way as like somebody else is sick, somebody should be making that for them. And my, I guess, interpretation of that, it goes back to energy, because we're all made up of energy, right? We're all like essentially this battery. But say if I'm making some mashkiki, some medicine for myself, I'm kind of like, I would say like recycling my energy, right? But I need some other energy to come in to like step up for me, to help me in that time, and to help me a little bit with their energies, because maybe mine is, you know, needs a little help. And so when they talk about medicine men and healers, they really need to be in their optimal kind of state, whether that's mentally, physically, and spiritually, in order to help other people. And then there's a belief that those ones who are gifted in that way, they don't doctor their own family members. And so that's why a lot of times you might see healers going to other healers, because I don't really know, other than my own interpretation about that energy transfer, because what they're doing is directly talking to these money due to these spirits for you. Do I have any questions?
You're good.
Okay. So when I work with these plant beings, have anybody noticed how I'm referring to them? Yep, plant beings as people. He, she, they. Yep. In our language, a lot of our plants, they're living beings, like, and that's what our beliefs are, that all these plants that we're working with are living beings, and that's why you show that respect for that life that they're giving you. I don't normally, like, you see some medicines here in the background a little bit. You see that my mosquito bug, and I have a little bit of raspberry tea. I just have a little bit of each, and I usually don't harvest, like, and I have these medicines here and these foods here to show you guys, to help you guys see what they look like. But I'll be using them, but typically I don't overly harvest an abundance that I'm not going to use, because one of the sayings that I heard before is like, well, do you need them? If you don't need them, you kind of just don't want to overly do that, because they're going to think you need them. And it was just like this idea that made me think like, oh, if I'm not sick right now, I'm not going to overdo it. And with mosquito bug, I have an abundance, because I would take care of my grandma. I would bring her tea. She has cancer. That's not a remedy, but when she first was diagnosed, she came to my house and she drank it for the first time, and she said she loved it. And they said she only had a small window of time left, but she has been drinking that like for over a year now, and she loves it. So I keep it on hand as much as I can to make it for her and bring it to her. I try not to overly harvest a lot of things. With berries, I use a lot of berries in my wild rice. When I'm cooking meats, all different kinds of ways that I'm using those plants. But when you're done using your plants, like say for instance, I have sitting over there the blueberry leaves that I just strained from that tea that I made. What I'll be doing is I'm not going to throw them in the garbage. I'm not going to dump this out in the sink. I'm going to take everything outside, what I don't utilize, I'm going to put it back into our mother, where they came from. And I'm going to give thanks again, and I'm going to talk to them and give thanks. So I guess I really wanted you guys to take away from all this stuff is I want you to think about things, think about that the plant lives as they are money due. When I was watching this elder talk about a garden recently, and she said that a lot of people are timid to work in the garden space because they're money dues that you're growing. And it was so right. Like, all these are spirits. All these are little spirits, and spirits that are so powerful. And it's all about this energy transfer and taking care of yourself. And was there a question or comment?
I don't see any.
Oh, okay. Well, so I guess I only have like really one more thing to show you all. because I think I went through, just two more things. Everybody's growing, right? You're getting to the end of your harvest and you're harvesting corn. Well, this corn is young and immature. And this is, I harvested this morning because the stem or the whole stalk, it fell right in half. And it wasn't gonna grow again. I tried to like mend it together with some tape and it just didn't work. But why I brought this out is I wanted to open this up and I wanted to share that you can also, oh, so cute. Oh my gosh, you guys. Super cute. You can use, I know some tribes use the husk, but you can use the silk. The corn silk, you can dry this or you can eat it just straight raw. You can make tea with it. There's a lot of medicinal qualities in there. You guys, this corn is beautiful. So beautiful. It's like has little pink spots. But yeah, like I said, this is a immature corn. It fell off in the storm that was here. I don't know if you can see that. But the corn silk is really good. I don't typically use my corn silk when I'm purchasing yellow corn because they spray a lot of pesticides on there. I don't do that. Also, this other one, love. It's well, this is one of my old containers. But you guys know what cattails are, right? And some of you might have heard that you can eat the whole stalk or the roots. I've never done that yet, but my friend and mentor Shirley Nordrum, she taught me that you can harvest the cattail pollen when it's time to harvest the pollen, when they're ready to like pollinate with each other. And then you just you pull it right up from the tip of the stem there on the very top above the puffball, and then you can harvest it and dry it out. There will be bugs in there, but there's gonna be bugs in probably everything that you harvest, or everyone that you harvest. And what I do with this is you can throw this right in your pancake mixes, your bread mixes. You can sprinkle it on your cereal. There's a lot of nutritional properties in there. I made this pancake recently that was so good. It was like with blue corn, cattail pollen. I can't remember what kind of flour I used, but then I used some of that monk fruit sugar and a little bit of maple sugars to even it out a little. So good. Topped it with some June berries, raspberries, and blueberries. Oh, so there's that. You can use those, but also when we're doing this, we're talking about the respect factor. We're giving. Well, my res accent came out a little bit. So we offer our Asemaa and we pray, but we can also give other offerings too. We can offer something like we can make something. We can offer it to a plant being that we're asking a lot out of. And one of my teachings is when you're going and getting healed by even like a medicine person or a healer or a plant, is that you're gifting on like what are you hoping to get from that, what you're going to receive. And that doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money. It doesn't mean that you have to have more than Asemaa. And if you don't use Asemaa because that's you're not Anishinaabeg and it's not your way, but showing respect is really something that you should be doing if you're taking from our mother or these plants and having them offer stuff. Is so not only when you're doing that respect factor with the plants or your healers, but like Ivy, she passed the virtual tobacco to me, and then therefore I use the same one too, and maybe others in this session did too. But I bring that up because sometimes when I give these talks, a lot of people tell me, they come up to me afterwards and they said, for some reason, something that you said made me really emotional. And I don't know why. And the reason why it's making you emotional is because I'm speaking to something that's your spirit is listening to, and that's helping you become more aware of yourself, and it's helping you connect with your spirit, because this is just a vessel, right? But I've had people come up to me after some sessions, and they give me what they have. I was gifted chaga. This is a very strong medicine, and I haven't used it at all. But the gift is what's important. You know, that the feeling that they had with me talking and what they were receiving, because these things that I'm saying or have said, they're not necessarily they're my thoughts that are generating right now, but also because I have prayed before this session. I had talked to my spirit helpers, and I prayed for these money doer that are here. So whatever I'm sharing today was what I'm meant to share today. Whatever I'm missing out of whatever, you know, afterwards, I wasn't supposed to say. And so when we gift in that way, I've gotten this. I've gotten like this cute little. It was like a little. I don't know, what do you call it? Almost like a like a placemat. It was super cute, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. And I just wanted to share that with you because I think it's really important, because a lot of times people are always really thinking about gifting, like, well, do I gift them money? Do I give them this? It's really what your heart is telling you. And yeah, monetary stuff is really good right now. It helps people, you know, get by day to day. But that's not necessarily what's important. What's important is that relationship of that spiritual connection with one another. So the actual physical gift isn't important. It's that spiritual gift. With that being said, quickly, I don't know how much time we have left. I think we're wrapping up soon. Is I wanted to share with you this thing that I would say it's a gift, but you know, with mother and daughters or any family members, sometimes you owe in and it just is yours. My mom made this beautiful little thing here, and I turned it into my, well, it really, she did make it into a food bundle. So I turned it into my food bundle. And I just asked her, can I borrow that to show it to somebody? And it's been here ever since, and it's all filled with all my stuff. Oh, here's that thing I was telling you. Isn't it cute? Like a little placemat. It's like perfect for my little bowl and stuff. I usually keep my bowl in there. I eat from this bowl, but I also put Asemaa in this bowl. Put it next to my bed when I'm praying with Asemaa. If I'm doing an offering, use this bowl. I really, really love this bowl. Who was the maker of this bowl? Ben Spears. You guys should check out his Instagram. Beautiful wooden bowls. Oh my gosh. And I can't, this spoon, I have these spoons too, and I use these to make tea. This spoon was made by Andreas Nordrum. And then I want to say this one too, maybe. And then I really love this bowl, and it just spoke to me right away, because if you can see in there's like a shape of a thunderbird in there. Like, I think it's a thunderbird, but we'll say it's a thunderbird, okay? But I love it. So I keep this food bundle with me, like wherever I go. When I would go places, I would keep the food bundle with me all the time. It goes back to respecting our mother too, by not like using other like paper products that are going to be disposed, but also it respects me as a woman and as a person to have my own bundle, so I can use this when I'm on my moon time. A teaching is that you have your own dinnerware when you're mooning that you only use, and then I have like a little thing that I bought just from, I think it's from that foods, what is it called? Whole Foods in Duluth. But yeah, so you can make yourself a little food bundle. You can bring it to ceremony. You can bring it out in the community. You don't have to be Anishinaabe to have a food bundle. I'm sure a lot of people have food bundles. I did see a question. What was that question?
So we have a couple questions and a couple comments. So the first question is, how do you know when corn is ready to harvest? And then some other just comments are cattail shoots are yummy, taste a little like cucumber.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so there's the corn question, and then there is what kind of offering can you make to an Asemaa plant?
To an Asemaa plant?
Yes.
I would say Asemaa. well, no. It really depends on who are you, what is your culture, and like I know there's some tribes down south that they use corn as offering. What? You can just say it. Oh yeah, my husband makes a lot of sense too. He said you can definitely use song, prayer, water. All those things are good because it really, like I said, it goes back to that energy, that feeling. Like it doesn't really have to be a particular thing. For me, I would say Asemaa being Anishinaabeg. So I would use Asemaa. I would probably use water and singing too. When we talk about those energies too, have you guys seen that study where there's water in a petri dish and they're gonna make snowflakes, and one's being talked to and really negatively, and one's really being talked to like just beautifully and I love yous and all that stuff, and then the negative petri dish is like all erratic all over the place, and then there's another one that's just beautiful crystals. That's because that's that energy transfer there, and that's that water, and they can hear you, and they have these molecules that are being formed. That's why they say, you know, talk good to yourself, talk good things to yourself. Don't say you hate yourself or you're not good enough and all that stuff. Speak all that good things, because that energy, and there's even, like I read somewhere that if you're sick somewhere, like say in your stomach, that you can directly talk to, like, I don't know where your kidneys are and stuff. You can talk to them, and you can talk directly to them and tell them, I love you, thank you, and you're doing such a good job, and you know, just doing that energy transfer. So when you're gifting these plant beings, like think about like what is your feeling, what's in your heart, what's in your heart, and if a song's in your heart, if a hum is in your heart, if just gratitude, pure gratitude and smiling, and you know, just love, pure love, that's a gift in itself. As for corn, I'm still learning about corn. Oh, well, my husband said when it's done growing, but there's so many different corns out there, especially different varieties. Like we have a blue jade corn that that last year it only grew to this size. So I just harvested at the end of the year when like they were still green yet, but I knew that everything was going to change. This one, this is the first year that I'm working with this corn, but I know it's not finished yet because the other ones that are still alive are still growing and thriving. So yeah, I'm still a learner with corn and a lot of different plants. These are just like some few that I've become familiar with over time. Is there another question?
Okay, yeah, there's another question. Maybe we'll have this be the last one. And your husband Lucas can join you if he wants to.
Yeah, be in the game.
We want to see you, Lucas.
He's like in my corner. He's like,
we've been hearing him from the sidelines. We want to see you. Okay. So the last question is, how do we make chaga tea?
So I would say with chaga tea, because I've heard from our community members and healers that it's such a strong like medicine, and these are all strong medicines, but with medicines that I'm not familiar with, and I don't necessarily work with them unless I'm kind of instructed to do so, whether in a dream format or whether it just comes to me. Like these plant beings, like I said, that like there's so few of them because they presented themselves to me in one way or another. I don't typically try to go and learn these different plants. This one was gifted to me, so it has presented itself to me, but I haven't had a use for him yet.
I've heard it should be ground up to
Yeah.
release its medicine.
Yeah. So yeah, he's heard that you have to grind it up to release the medicines, but I'm not really sure too much about chaga. Yeah.
Okay, so actually I just kind of so Natasha says, I was taught to harvest it during cold temperatures like in the fall and winter. My family simmers a piece or a couple of pieces of chaga, depending on how much we are making, on a lower temperature for a couple of hours until the water turns a nice dark color. Only takes a small piece to make a couple cups of tea. Some people do grind it up like a coffee. So thank you, Natasha. Miigwech. And I do have a question. I know it's probably, a lot of people probably know this, but maybe they don't. Like, I was taught by my husband's mother, who was from Mille Lacs, from East Lake community, that when you go out and you make an offering to the plant, like I collect, I harvest a lot of dogwood for dream catchers. And so she just told me to like speak to the plant, offer the tobacco. It's not, you have to do it every time you cut a branch. It's just like to that first one. And then that kind of, that speaks for all of the ones that you're going to harvest that day. Is that what you learned?
That's kind of what the protocol I've been following is like, if it's a new day, then I'll start the day over, you know. But yeah, basically that's what I've learned.
I think we're gonna end this. So is there anything else either you or Lucas want to share before I close it out?
No, I think we're good. But remember, I just wanted to share, like, just remember that all these beings, don't be afraid to get to know them. Don't be afraid to, when you're learning about them, don't be afraid to think about your own blood memory. That goes with making anything, like any crafts or tools, and look inside your community, and what are your community members doing? What are the teachings within your community? And you're gonna have to ask questions and frame your questions differently within your community, but also give your own community members like a platform to share what they know and their knowledge and their teachings. And yeah, just don't be afraid of your blood memory, because it's such a beautiful thing once you get familiarized with it, and you'll be surprised at the things that you can learn. You don't have to look outside of yourself. You don't have to look outside of your community sometimes. So yeah, just feel, allow yourself to be powerful in that and not to be scared. And when you're making offerings, do what's in your heart, what feels good. Even making yourself like a spirit dish to put out for your spirit helpers, because we all have our own spirit helpers, and they're all around us all the time. They're just waiting on us to call on them and to ask them for help. And so you need to talk to them and feed them every now and then, and your loved ones who passed on. But it doesn't have to be your prayer and your offerings don't have to be a big production. They can be just your energy going into it, and speak whatever you know how to speak, like how much language you know, because the money they're not dumb. You know what I mean? They're very smart, and they're waiting for you to call on them. So you can just feel empowered to make your own spirit dish, your offering tonight. If you want to, when you're making dinner, before you even take a bite, sample, go put out an offering and give thanks to all the money do, give thanks for your life, give thanks to your own spirit. And yeah, just feel empowered to do that. And then if you ever want to talk more to me about like more in depth about these things, I'm more than willing to have more conversations and share ideas and share knowledge and help each other remember. Yeah, Ivy has all my contact information, so if anybody wants to keep in touch and buy local, I can also share like a link to all these like different people who provide local things. So then you guys can have like a little resource list to go to. But yeah,
That's
that's
great.
it.
That'd be very helpful. So I will get that from you, as well as that sheet that had the Ojibwamoan names and that sheet that you showed us. So if you can email that to me, I can email that out to the group, to all that registered. And as well, I created a survey for this. So I'm hoping that, that people will fill that out as well. And then I just want to say Apijigo, miigwech, Awanuk, and Lucas for sharing with us today. It really was informational, and I learned a lot of new things and a lot of things that I can put into practice, and all of us that were on this session can do as well. And so miigwech for that. I do want to say a big chi miigwech to our funders again, which are the Minnesota Department of Human Services and the First Nations Development Institute for their funding of this session. Our next session for all of those that are still on is going to be September 24th at 6:30 via Zoom. It's going to be with Herb Finday, who is a tribal member of the Fond du Lac Reservation. And he's going to teach us how to make a medicine bundle, like a pouch that you can wear around your neck. And then he's going to also teach us how to make apicosagun into a mixture like kinnikinnick. So that'll be September 24th. I'm going to make a post about that tomorrow on the AICHO Facebook page. So please follow us on AICHO. If you want to learn more about the American Indian Community Housing Organization, you can find us online at www.aicho.org, AICHO.org. And yeah, miigwech for joining us today. Thank you for all your questions and your thoughts. And yeah, so thanks again, Veronica. And
Yeah, miigwech everybody.
yeah, so I'm gonna end the session. So we'll be in touch, Veronica.
All right, miigwech.
Okay.
Big woman.
Yep.